Here.
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 Present. May we all please rise for a moment of silence, and then we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. We're also joined by, and let's put our hands together for school committee woman-elect, Latonia Naylor. Latonia, please stand up. Okay, we'll move to section 2 of the agenda. Approve the minutes of the November 2nd, 2017 regular school committee meeting and the November 16, 2017 working session minutes. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Motion by Mr. Collins. Is there a second? Say again, is there a second?
So are we talking about November 16th?
November 16th.
The only, if I could just...
Yes, go ahead.
vote on it.
Vice Chair.
Second.
Yes. Vice Chair Attorney Murphy?
Second.
Second and the, okay, motion by Mr. Collins, seconded by Vice Chair Attorney Peter Murphy. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. We'll now move to section 3. These are items requiring a vote of the school committee. A is to approve City of Springfield High School diploma to Shaniqua Rangel. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Shanita was in an out-of-district special education placement and qualified for a full diploma, passing the MCAS and everything. I recommend approval. Dr. Johnson confirmed everything.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, motion by Mr. Roland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham, absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Rodan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient vote. Matter passes. Congratulations to Ms. Reingold. B is to approve Central High School students' travel to Purchase, New York on December 15th and 16th, 2017 for the varsity wrestling tournament. Superintendent Warwick, please. I know there's representatives that are here.
Yeah, thank
A.D.
you.
Martin, Principal Tokan.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor. The next 3 actually are circulars from Central High School for 3 different wrestling tournaments. I'm recommending approval. As you know, our Central team are state champions every year, so we want to get them out on the road. So I'm recommending approval for all 3 trips.
Darby McLaughlin does a great job with them.
Unbelievable.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? Motion by Vice Chair Murphy, second by Mr. Roland. This is on B. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gresham, absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Rodan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient vote. This matter passes, and we wish you good luck. C is to approve Central High School students travel to Lowell, Massachusetts, December 28th through the 29th for the varsity wrestling tournament. Superintendent Warwick has already explained. If there's any questions
Recommend
or
approval.
comments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. Roland. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham, absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Rodan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes. Matter passes. Again, good luck and continued success there. D is to approve Central High School students' travel to West Orange, New Jersey on January 13th and 14th, 2018. This is for the varsity wrestling tournament. Superintendent Warwick again.
In recommending approval for the team to compete.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion on the floor? Motion by Mr. Roland. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham, absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Rodan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes. Matter passes. Good luck and continued success out there with the wrestling team. E is to approve the collective bargaining agreement for clerks, the ASME. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Grateful to the school committee for their support. We have settled with the clerical union within the confines of what you gave us to offer, and they've approved it. I'm recommending approval for the committee for that agreement. It's a very good agreement.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments?
Mayor, so moved agreement on the proposal.
Motion by Mr. Roland. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Attorney Peter Murphy. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham, absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Rodan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you to everyone on that. F is to approve revisions of the Springfield Public Schools wellness policy. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This policy was looked at by Curriculum and Program Subcommittee, led by Denise Hurst. Very, very small changes in the policy, only a few, and they're redlined, so it's minor changes, so it would require only one vote. And the changes are on the second page. Again, to go insert where we have the school breakfast and lunch program and the gardening program. So Denise, do you want to
First, if
add
you
on
want
to
to
that?
comment at all?
Just that it came out of subcommittee
Yeah.
favorably.
Any other questions or comments pertaining to this? Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Collins, is there a second? Say again, is there a second? Sandra, I might need a second out of you, Sandra, down there. Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Gresham? Absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you. G is to approve revisions of the Springfield Public Schools pupil progression plan. This is the first vote. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Unlike the wellness policy, there are significant revisions to this policy. It needed to be updated after several years. Stefania Rochilla headed a committee to look at the policy, and it's been through our Curriculum and Program Subcommittee. I don't know, Denise, if you wanted to speak to it.
Sure, it also came out of subcommittee favorably. Ms. Rochilla did a lot of work alongside her team to reduce the redundancy in the pupil progression plan, to update it and bring it up to speed currently.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst, and thank you, Stefania and your team. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion
So
on the
moved, Mayor.
floor? Motion by Mr. Orlando, is there a second? Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham? Absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. H is to approve the release of funds from Changemakers Urban Youth Food Justice Ambassadors Grant in the amount of nearly $81,000. Superintendent Ward, please.
Yeah, this also came through our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. And it's a grant to provide mentoring for some of our middle school kids around, healthy food choices and that kind of a thing. Chris is the head of that subcommittee. I don't know if Chris wanted to embellish on it.
It was explained very well, and it got unanimous support from the subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Attorney Peter Murphy. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Collins. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham? Absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. I is to approve release of funds for the Early Grades Literacy Program grant in the amount of $74,700. Superintendent Ward?
This is all good news, accepting all these grants. Again, this went through our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. It's grants to enhance our early grades literacy program, which we've done a lot of work with. Chris is the head of that subcommittee. I don't know if Chris wanted to.
Very well, and it helped develop the standard curriculum for all preschools, and it got a unanimous support from the subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Orlando, is there a second? Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham? Absent. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst? Yes. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. J is to approve new revolving account in support of the CPR program in Springfield. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeannie Clancy, our nursing director, provides CPR training, quite honestly, across the entire area as a training center. And this account would allow us to accept funds from people who are getting trained so we can use them as a revolving account to cover our expenses. It went through our Budget and Finance Subcommittee and was recommended. I don't know if Chris wanted to speak to it.
It's an excellent approach. It allows, they're generating the income, and it allows them to use that income in a way to enhance their program, and it got full support.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. And for those who are first time here or viewing audience, a lot of the majority of the nuts and bolts work gets done in subcommittee. So that's why a lot of these are quick votes, because all the work is done prior with the tireless efforts of the subcommittees that work behind the scene on that. So if there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Roland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collins. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Gresham, absent Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. O'Dea,
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy.
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you. K is to approve a transfer of $8,869 from reserve for contingencies to the Safety and Security Fund, a part-time security guard at the Professional Development Center. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very excited to announce that we're going to be opening a new professional learning center in Springfield, a professional development center. It's going to be named after Melanie Kasparian. The old center was named after Melanie Kasparian, who was actually president of the SEA and MTA at one time in Springfield. But it's a very exciting development. We do more with professional development than any school system in the Commonwealth, with 7 full days for professional development. We're going to have a training facility that's second to none here in New England, opening up on St. James Avenue at the Plaza. In order to open that, we're going to need some staffing in the evening. It's going to be opened every day and in the evening, and on Saturdays where necessary for training across our system. This will allow us to staff it every evening and on Saturdays where needed. So it's a transfer of some money for a safety and security guard in the evenings. So I recommend approval for that.
I don't know if there's any comments from Mr. Collins and all.
It's an excellent use of why we have a contingency fund for these kind of conditions, and we recommended it unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any question? Ms. Hurst?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Are we going to have security there during the day as well, or only on the nights
This is
and
going to be
weekends?
the staff person in the evening to actually just man the center and keep an eye on it and close it up. But we're going to have full-time staffing during the day.
During the day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hurst, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Roland. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Gresham, absent Mr. Collins.
Yes.
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 Yes, more than sufficient votes, the matter passes. Thank you very much. L is to approve a transfer of $208,395 from reserve for contingencies, business, and finance to the empowerment zone school operations as required by the contract. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a request, there's a memorandum, and two requests are on one page here on transfers. The first one is required by the contract. We got extra money from the state late in the fiscal year after we formulated our budget, and a piece of that money, because the funding follows the students into the empowerment zone, has to be transferred over to the empowerment zone for their use because they get the funding for those students. It went through Budget and Finance, and I didn't know if Chris wanted to speak to it.
Mr. Collins?
We had the formula in the contract to make sure that they got their fair share to support their students, and this lives up to our commitment.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? Say again, motion on the floor. Motion by Vice Chair Attorney Peter Murphy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collins. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham, absent Mr. Collins.
Yes.
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 Yes, more than sufficient votes, the matter passes. Thank you very much. M is to approve a transfer of $200,000 for the reserve contingencies, business and finance to utilities, business and finance to cover projected shortfall. Superintendent Warwick, please.
So this was needed because we're going to need more money in that utility account. Been through Subcommittee, Budget and Finance, and was approved. Recommending approval on this.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Mr. Collins, any?
We do the best we can to project costs, but we're not always right on the money. That's why we have reserve contingency accounts, and we recommended this transfer completely.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Collins. There's a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Roland. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gresham, absent Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. O'Dea,
Yes.
Mrs. Hurst,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy.
Yes.
Yes, more than sufficient votes, the matter passes. Thank you very much. N is to approve the new Springfield Public Schools policy regarding van use for transportation of Springfield Public Schools students. Superintendent Warwick, please.
A lot of our, thank you, Mayor, a lot of our high schools have vans that they use that the city has purchased for us to go to things like the vocational school, to go out to co-op programs or Renaissance, to go out to different trip experiences, that kind of thing during the school day. So all of our high schools have a van. We wanted to put some policies in place relative to use of the van for the safety of our students as they go out there to different activities in the community. Attorney Kennedy, had worked with us on this policy. Piece of the whole policy, too, was putting some insurance coverage in place to make sure the city is properly covered should we have an issue. So we went through, and this went through safety and budget and finance. But I thought, Attorney Kennedy, if you could give us an overview, and then Chris from budget and finance might want to speak to it as well.
Attorney Kennedy, Mary Jo, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Warwick.
As the superintendent said, with respect to there's two policies before you tonight. There's one relating to the use of Springfield Public School vans, and that's the one that the superintendent was referring to. And there's the school has the policy has very specific reasons for the use of those vans. It's only to be used for Springfield Public School vans in a 30-mile radius of Springfield, to be used for very specific approved activities that are outlined in here, specifically either sports events or extracurricular activities of students, and using those vans when it is not cost prohibited to have a bus to transport students. And it's for high school and middle school schools. And also the policy puts in place very requirements for the drivers of the vans that they have to comply with, one of which is that they have to have their driver's records be checked. They have to agree to submit to a DMV records check of their driver's license. And the other thing the superintendent mentioned is that we've put into place, before the vans for the Springfield Public Schools were self-insured, now that there will be the school committee, subcommittee on finance looked at getting insurance on that and looking for the policy. At the subcommittee, it was looked at for $5 million, but now we've gotten information that we can only go up to $1.5 million for those vans to get insurance coverage on. And as with many other activities, in order for the students to ride in the vans, the parents will have to give approval of that as well.
I have a question, Mayor. Yeah, I thought, and maybe I lost the translation in our committee meeting. I thought 20, not just the student, but 20 was for the max in the van. That's including teachers, whoever's in the vans. 20, including the teachers. It says 20 students attending.
That's the second. There's two policies. The rental use van, you could have up to 20 students and use 2 vans.
Yeah, but we still want to include the employees too, or the teachers as well, right?
In both of the policies, I think it says, I believe it says that they have to comply with the passenger limit. You can't exceed the passenger limit of the van.
Yeah, but it says students, so I want to make sure we understand it's including students and teachers, no more than 20. It only says students, so I want to make sure we know that. We note that in our policy.
I think that's in the bullet on page 2, but I could, yes,
It's on page 1 as well, too, but.
That's because it's 20 or less, so it could be 10 students in 2 vans, that's why. Yeah.
I understand that piece, but I want to make sure that we include the drivers or teachers. They got to be included in the 20. So if the van says 20 people, that's the teacher and then 19 students, or the teacher and another teacher and then 18 students. The max is 20, right?
Yes, I think some of the vans, though, that can be rented could be more than a capacity of 10.
Can we stick with, we need to stick, we have two
Yeah.
policies. One is with school department-owned vans, then the other one's with rental. This one is actually
Correct.
15 or less.
Yeah.
This is 15 or
This is
less.
for what we
right.
control.
Yeah, and you're right, we'll do the rental one
We have
next.
to do the rental, yeah.
So I
But
should have
even on the
delineated that
15, I
clearly.
want to make sure that we make sure that on the 15th, it's also including the teachers, not just 15 students,
Yes,
teachers and students, not to exceed 15.
That's addressed on the paragraph, section 5, the first bullet point. The number of passengers to be transported in an SPS passenger van must not exceed
Yeah,
the
but
passenger
since it's 15,
capacity of
it
the
doesn't
van.
still,
Oh,
okay.
no, down here, Norm. The number of passengers to be transported wouldn't exceed the passenger capacity of the van, because the vans have different passenger capacity, so it wouldn't go over.
I just want to make sure we're clear with that, because I don't want nobody confused saying, no, there's 15 teachers, 15 students, then the
Yeah.
teachers,
That's why Mary Jo changed it here to passengers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in
And
other
not
words,
exceed the
it's
limit.
up to 15, but if it's only a 15-passenger bus, there'll only be 14 students and the
Correct.
driver.
Right.
Correct.
But it's up to 15.
Correct.
So she made that change based on the recommendation during the meeting. Yeah,
Just want to make sure we're clear with
yeah,
that, because,
no, that was a good point.
all right.
For clarifying, Mr. Orlando.
Yep.
Yes, Ms. Hurst.
So I know that we're dealing with the van use, the ones that we own, but there's no overnight clause like there is for the rental van? Is that because this van will never be used for any overnight trips?
That is correct. Because this
These
van,
these are typically older vans that we wouldn't take on long trips to go overnight. They're ones we own. So the trips going overnight are newer vans that we'd be renting.
And typically farther distance?
Farther distance, right.
these vans, the SBS vans will not go 30 miles.
No more than 30 miles.
It only has a 30-mile radius that it can leave.
We have a much higher limit on the rental vans to go on the overnight trips.
Thank you very much for the clarification points, Ms. Hurst and Mr. Roland. Are any other questions or comments of the superintendent or Attorney Kennedy? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Before the motion, Ms.
I'm
Hurst?
so sorry.
That's okay.
I only say this because I know we're getting ready to go on holiday break, and I think it was last year where there was an issue because we didn't have a meeting, and there were a variety of winter sports that were taking place, and we couldn't convene to have, an emergency meeting to give authorization. So should we not have that included in the policy, that the chair or the vice chair could give permission should such a trip come up after we've closed for the break?
Once we pass the policy, we won't have to get back together. It's controlled by all of the principal has to approve it, Mike Martin's department approves it, so we don't have to be involved anymore as a committee once we pass the policy. The last time we had no policy.
Last year.
So we would have had to have gotten together last year and make a policy. This takes care of that issue, so that won't happen again.
Is it, if it's okay, Superintendent, Athletic Director A.D. Martin is here. Coach Martin, if you can come up maybe just to clarify that point. School, if you could clarify that point, because Ms. Hurst brings up a good point, because we did have that issue unbeknownst to us.
And perhaps this is not the policy, because if this is included in the van use, but we should probably have one separate, because just with respect to approving trips, because remember it was about the approval of a trip and the travel.
Coach Martin.
Came under the field trip.
Okay.
Yeah, Coach Martin, it was the unbeknownst to us, the unfortunate issue of a team had scheduled a trip without going through the proper protocol and ended up getting vans that we denied that you couldn't do it because so Ms. Hurst was just looking, yeah.
This is why this all came to fruition this year, so we had it taken care of so that it wouldn't happen again. And when it did arise, everybody knew what to do, the procedures were in place, so you wouldn't have to worry about getting called at the last minute or any of that other stuff.
Okay.
And we went through all the different protocol that, for the procedures to make sure everybody was satisfied with how it would work.
Thank you, Coach
I
Martin.
think we also included like checking the queries of the drivers, and
Right.
making
Yeah.
sure they're certified to drive and stuff like that. Making sure,
Last-
yeah,
Insured as well.
correct.
Because that was a
And we
that
set a
was a question
mileage
last year.
limit, so,
Mr. Mayor, last year we had two issues. We had
Right.
the fact that they were using rental vans, but they also never applied within, we already have a policy on taking an overnight field trip. They didn't meet
No
the
written.
parameters of that. They didn't get it in on time.
On time.
And those policies been in place for a long time. So there is a certain guideline. They have to do it a certain time in advance in order to meet an overnight trip. They didn't meet that.
Right, I recall.
And again, there was no ill will to anybody that we're looking to do, but we want to make sure we protect the responsibility of our students, liability type issues to the parents and families, that all the proper protocols were followed.
in a trip of that.
That was a long-
That was a long trip.
Right,
To have-
I remember.
Not have
Yeah.
rotating drivers and things like that would have been a problem. This will take care of that particular issue, but you still have to turn the field trip form, with the approval on time, like the wrestling team did for use of the
Right.
vans. So we still need to get that in on time, but I think we've talked to all the coaches about that, and they understand that they need to get those trips in on time. But now the safety piece with the vans, we're ensuring there's some consistency and good protocols in place as well.
This was good
you.
clarification.
Yeah,
Thank you,
good
Ms. Hurst
question.
and Mr. Roland and Mr. Collins, Attorney Kennedy and A.D. Martin. Appreciate that. If there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion? This is on N. Motion on the floor?
I make a motion, we approve the school committee policy on van use of the vans that we own.
Motion by Mr. Collins, or second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, more than sufficient votes, the matter passes. Thank you. O is to approve the new Springfield Public Schools policy regarding the use of rental vans for transportation of Springfield Public School students. We have already discussed this. Superintendent Warwick.
Thank you, Mayor. Mary Jo Kennedy will take us through now just a change in the rental, well, not change, it's a new policy. We didn't have a really tight policy on this. And just the differences relative to rental vans, longer trips, and that kind of thing. And now our insurance also will apply to those trips as well.
That's right. So the rental vans are used for longer trips. And again, they would be used only when the student capacity, it's cost prohibitive because the size, there's less students, so that you could have, again, this is where Mr. Rodin was going to, that up to 20 students, but in 2 separate vans. And you'd be transporting those. And those approved activities are even narrower than in the SPS use of vans. It's for trips of up to overnight trips within 180 miles of Springfield, and for either approved sanctioned MIAA events or extracurricular field trips, including overnight trips. And as Ms. Hurst was alluding to, these overnight trips must still get approval from the school committee for those trips. And the insurance coverage is the same as with the SPS. It's the $1.5 million, and the same requirements for the drivers as well. And the same requirement that parents approve the use of, that their child be transported in a rental van.
Thank you, Attorney Kennedy. I know that clarifies. I know Mr. Roland had a lot of clarifications, and Ms. Hurst. Does that clarify the issue for you?
We have the passenger capacity piece added to this relative to that meeting where we made that change, and I think it covered all the changes the subcommittee recommended.
Yeah, I'm good.
Sandra, we can't get a word in edgewise with you tonight.
Sorry.
It's always that's good insight. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion that we approve the policy for the use of rental vans for
I'll
Springfield
second it.
Public.
Motion by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. Roland. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, more than sufficient votes, this matter passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Kennedy. And again, that subcommittee did a lot of work and really made a lot of really helpful changes in the policy, so we certainly appreciate that.
I hope he feels better. Yeah. Sirs?
I know we just voted, and I'm so sorry, but what about, do we have like a weather clause? Maybe I'm being too much of a worrywart, but is there like a weather clause, like when they, like, are we going to prohibit them from traveling if school has been canceled because of the weather, or
Yeah, I would work
We
with
think
Mike
about
Martin on that. If we knew there was a bad forecast, just like school, we would cancel the trip.
Okay.
Mike would contact me, would cancel
Sorry,
the trip.
Chris.
Yep. Oh, it's a real good point.
Thank you, Superintendent.
In the policy, the principal is required to approve the trip. So if school's been canceled, most of our principals are pretty savvy. They would realize the roads are not safe and would not approve
Better
it.
cancel.
Thank you for the indulgence of the school committee. We'll now move to section 4. This is informational discussion items, and we have Sodexo Food Services annual presentation. They always do a great job. So, Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mayor. Mark Jeffries and our Sodexo team are here to present their annual report tonight. They've been an incredible partner with the City of Springfield and the school department for the last number of years, and every year we have increased participation, and I think we've developed into a program that really is a beacon for the entire country, with an increase in the breakfast program, participation in the lunch program, and even evening opportunities. And every time we have a difficulty or an issue as a city, Mark and his team step up too, and they've been great corporate citizens as well. And again, most of their employees actually live here in the city. So I'm very proud of Sodexo. They've been a great partner, and I think you're going to be very impressed with their presentation tonight because they've done a great job. And I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you. Everybody hear me all right? Mayor, Superintendent, School Committee, good evening. I'm honored to present the Springfield School Child Nutrition 2017 Annual Report. I want to start the report by thanking Patrick Roach and Tim Gray for all their guidance and support again this past year. Without their help and support, we wouldn't be able to have the program we have today. Student well-being nutrition, breakfast in the classroom. To date, 56 public schools, 98% of our schools have implemented breakfast in the classroom. Student participation breakfast in the classroom sits at 82%, compared to less than 50% in the traditional cafeteria format. Springfield Public Schools is the first district in the Commonwealth to implement the program in a K-12 environment. Studies have shown that students who start their day with a healthy, nutritious breakfast are more attentive and focused in class, which should lead to increased academic performance. School gardens. There are currently 25 school gardens. This is up from 4 this past year. $100,000 has been allocated this year again to expand school gardens, including adding 5 garden coordinators, 1 curriculum writer, and 1 garden employee. Student well-being achievement. The Culinary and Nutrition Center. The city is about to break ground for the new Culinary and Nutrition Center, which will be located at 75 Cadwell Drive here in Springfield. The state-of-the-art facility is being designed to accommodate the expansion plan of our food service program, including producing high-quality food for our public schools, incorporating local purchasing, farm-to-school, student education, economic development, operational efficiencies. Now, I want to be the first one to cordially invite you to the groundbreaking and tour of the site on Wednesday, December the 13th, 2017 at 3 p.m. Refreshments will be provided. The CNC is going to truly revolutionize not only our program here in Springfield, but it's going to revolutionize our industry. It's the first of its kind in the country. Financial performance. In 2017, all financial targets were achieved. To date, Springfield, the school district, has received program surplus of $20.4 million. These funds have been reinvested to develop and expand the food service program. To date, $4.3 million has been invested in new cooking and service equipment through our annual capital improvement plan. Grants. In 2017, the food service program applied and received grant funding totaling $887,000. I'm not going to name them all because there are so many of them, but one of them included the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program again with a grant of $685,000. The Fresh Fruit and Vegetable grant funding since that program began, we've received $4.4 million. Breakfast and lunch meal participation. This is how we measure and benchmark our program success. In fiscal year 17, breakfast and lunch meal participation continued to increase. This growth was primarily due to the expansion of breakfast in the classroom, now in those 56 public schools, 8 parochial and charter schools. Springfield is the first district in the Commonwealth and perhaps the country to implement the program in all schools K through 12 when Putnam High School implements the program in January. Meal participation last year was sitting at 73.3% for breakfast and 80.1% for lunch. Fiscal year 17 meal participation increased last year 713,000 meals, 1.9 million in the last 3 years, and 2.4 million since our partnership began. Direct certifications. Direct certification students. Students who receive some form of federal assistance and meals at no costs are a major component of our program and have direct impact on Title I E-rate funding to the district. In fiscal year 16, the number of DC students sat at just over 21,000, 81.5%. And in fiscal year 17, the number of DC students hit 25,700, 81.4%. Management team and employee profile. To the superintendent's point, there were 3 additional management positions added this year in procurement, a culinary advisor, and chef managers, with several more pending as we prepare to open the Culinary Center. The food service program currently has 377 employees, average salary being $16.58 an hour. That's up $1 in the last year. 89.4% of our employees are women, 78.3% are minority, and 84.6% are Springfield residents. Principal surveys are utilized to measure how the food service program is serving and responding to the needs of our students and principals. The feedback is utilized to create action plans for the development and implementation of our programs and services to continuously strive to improve the quality of the food service program. And as you see, our principal surveys over this past year mirror what they have been in the previous years, sitting at 4.4% overall satisfaction. Student well-being environment. We talked about our capital improvement plan. The capital improvement plan continues to be funded through the food service program surplus and is designed to repair and replace old serving and cooking equipment. The majority of the nearly $680,000 that was spent was on equipment to support the breakfast in the classroom program in many of our schools this past year. And you also, on this slide on the left-hand side, that is the new serving line at Kennedy Middle School. Sustainability, recycling. 100% of our schools have single-stream recycling containers inside and outside with at least weekly pickups of cardboard, paper, plastics, tin cans, and aluminum. Composting. In March, 6 schools, Putnam, Central, Kennedy, Rebecca Johnson, Early Learning, and Chestnut, began a composting pilot program with students and staff. STEM Middle started this month and is the first school where students are separating food waste in the cafeterias. Backpacker program, very near and dear to my heart. The mission of this program, as you know, is to stop hunger faced by children of Sodexo partner school districts on weekends by providing them non-perishable food in the form of backpacks. The program is funded primarily by school district employees as well as Sodexo employees who sponsor a child at $5 a month. The program officially started in February of 2008, and to date, 22,000 backpacks filled with food have been distributed to needy students and their families. Our annual scholarship and back-to-school celebration that a lot of you attend in May, Sodexo presented once again 12 Springfield High School students with scholarships. The annual event featured a dinner and award ceremony, and to date, Sodexo has awarded $125,500 to high school students graduating with scholarships. On August the 26th, 2017, Sodexo, in partnership with Springfield Public Schools, celebrated in the 9th annual back-to-school celebration. The event took place once again in Blunt Park and was attended by thousands of students, parents, and supporters. The event included companies and organizations providing various resources for our families, a lunch barbecue, and the distribution of those thousands of backpacks. Student Wellbeing Activity is our Future Chef event that a lot of you have participated in. Great picture on the left-hand side of our mayor. For elementary and middle school age students across the country. The culinary competition was created to challenge students to think creatively about eating healthy meal options and to encourage parents to become engaged in their students' education. Students develop their own recipes, prepare their creations, and then present them to a panel of judges. The event concluded with a taste testing and award ceremony. In March, the 4th annual Future Chef event was held at Springfield Putnam Vocational High School, and Miss Vasquez, a 3rd grader from Indian Orchard Elementary School, won first place. And she's there on our right-hand side with her creation. I thank you all for your continued support. I am happy to answer any questions. Oh, this is our fiscal year 18. The last page of your slide is what we have incorporated for fiscal year 18 for our goals and objectives. And if you could go to the next slide, Ricky. Down on the bottom, we have identified 12 schools with the greatest growth opportunity, and we have incorporated an intervention program in those schools to drive participation up in those particular schools that have been highlighted, because we have a goal, a target of 90% meal participation in our program, and that would be an additional 290,000 meals over the course of the next 3 years. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the program or Sodexo as a whole.
Any questions? Just a comment, I know everybody gets bored hearing the same thing, but of the only thing that, from the control board era, as far as outsourcing, that was successful and continues to be a boon for the city of Springfield is your service. And we thank you for what you are a great corporate citizen for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
It's a pleasure.
Any other questions or comments? I just would like to say that was a point I was going to put across, Mr. Collins put across. This has been a public-private partnership that has worked very, very well for the students and staff and the residents and business community of the city. But more importantly, you know, Springfield, we faced some trying times during the disaster situations of the unprecedented EF3 tornado in 2011, and later on in that year, the pre-freak October nor'easter prior to Halloween. And any time I picked up that phone to call Sodexo, to be there for food, for shelters that we had to open up for our residents that were affected, there was never any question of, you know, this cost, that cost. You were there. And we've never forgotten that. And then your constant give back with the scholarship program, the backpack program, besides the summer welcoming that we do at Plum Park, but helping out families who are need a little more food. And the chef tell thing I love. I just think it's a great event. So you, as Mr. Collins indicated, you've really been an outstanding corporate citizen. And I will never forget the times when I had to call to make sure we helped out our residents in need during those natural disasters. Sodexo was there. So continued success, and we thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. We hope to see you all at the groundbreaking
Ceremony. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that groundbreaking ceremony should be something, and the idea that we'd be able to pay the bond back while all the revenue generated from the extra participation in the food program is unbelievable. So we'll have fresh food for our kids that is all dealt with here and grown here, and then processed by all the local employees who are City of Springfield residents and stay here for the kids, and all the revenue coming right from the program because we've improved the program. It's an incredible accomplishment, and just congratulations to Mark and our finance team for pulling that together, because it's really unique.
You know, Springfield's a city of first, and I believe you are correct. I think we're going to be the first in the country to be doing this. And again, it's another collaboration between school department and my city side working together to finance this, and not only on the quality of food, but the accessibility of workforce development and training that's going to occur here, the farm to table to school, and vice versa. But it's another first for the city of Springfield.
It is. You know, one of the biggest challenges we have in breakfast in the classroom is finding food items that are price sensitive, that are palatable to our students, that meet the nutritional food pattern, and we're not able to find those quality products in the marketplace. So this center is going to allow us the ability to create those and make them ourselves, to be serving a much fresher product to our students who solely deserve it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Great job, Mark.
Thank you again. Now we'll move to reports of standing committees. A is Student Relations Parent Concerns.
Mrs. Gresham.
I'm sorry? Ms. Gresham, unfortunately, she's unable to attend tonight. B is Building and Maintenance Committee.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. C is Legislative Contracts Committee. I think that was Peter. He has a child that is sick at home. He had to leave, okay. D is Curriculum Programs Committee. Ms. Hurst, thank you, Ms. Hurst. E is Budget and Finance, Mr. Collins. I know we spoke on a few things. I don't know if you have anything else.
We covered all the issues, but for Latonia, that's where the nuts and bolts takes place. Those meetings are long so that these meetings can go well.
That's a hint, Latonia.
Get ready.
Any questions or comments, Mr. Collins' report? Thank you very much. F is Vocational Education Committee. Thank you, Mr. Orland. G is Technology Committee.
That's Attorney Murphy.
Peter, again, he had to leave for a child that's sick at home. H is School Safety Committee. That is Ms. Gresham. Unfortunately, she's unable to attend. We'll now move to the report of Superintendent. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As of today, we've enrolled 419 students from Puerto Rico. That's the highest number of any community in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We set up a testing center at our Parent Community Engagement Center so we can test all the youngsters as they come in, get the proper ESL levels assigned, and get them right out to the school so we can educate them right away. Very, very grateful to Paul Foster and his team for their work so we can run this center and get them into the schools and right into school right away with the right program very efficiently. So congratulations to the PACE staff on that and Paul Foster, because it's great work.
Let me say to the Superintendent Warwick on the school side and my city side team, what we had put together and working with the Western Mass Coalition, it has been noticed throughout the state, Springfield stepping forward for our citizens and our residents. And again, just to reiterate Superintendent Warwick's statement, Springfield has taken the most students, 419 students. We turned no one away and welcomed them here, whether their stay is short or long, because it was the right thing to do. So I commend everybody that's involved. There's so many people involved for what they did for that. Thank you, Superintendent.
Yeah, and a second item, and I talked about it briefly earlier, but there's a piece in your packet with an opening, the groundbreaking ceremony for our Melanie Kasparian Professional Learning Center, which will be December 19th at 10 a.m. We'd love to see you there. We're really excited about that development.
To our school committee woman-elect Latonia Naylor and then Maria Perez also. Pat, we're going to be sending out information to them on some of these upcoming events, even though they're elected. We more than welcome to have them too.
Absolutely. And last update, we've been working extensively, almost weekly, with the Massachusetts School Building Authority on several projects, and we have some great news. We're very far along now on a new school in the north end of Springfield, and it's looking very like they're going to approve a combined project for two schools in combination. They're replacing Brightwood and Lincoln, and we're very far along in the project with that, and got the approval on numbers recently and the idea that we'd be able to go forward from MSBA. We also now have a second project in the queue in the Mason Square area to replace Homer and DeBerry in a project where it will be, again, a combined school to replace those two schools. DeBerry has some structural issues, and most of the other schools we're replacing, they're well over 100 years old. A lot of these buildings, like Homer, don't have a gym, don't have a cafeteria or any of the proper facilities. But we're past the first step of the process with that second project, too. This is going to take us to over $700 million worth of MSBA projects in the last several years, the most in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Really proud of that. Very, very grateful to the mayor because every one of these projects has a piece where the local community has a % commitment on this and it requires bonding. And every project we've brought forward and been very, very aggressive because not only do we have the new building projects we've done, we've had the most accelerated repair projects, new windows, doors. Our average building in the city of Springfield is over 55 years old. So we put a lot into, we've had major renovations at over 25 of our other buildings throughout the city. So when you drive by schools like Kennedy and Duggan, they've had major renovations and repairs. So really proud of that and really grateful to the city, just like the Culinary Center stepping up and bonding to make these improvements to take our schools forward. And our kids, when you talk about a Brightwood or Lincoln, both well over 100 years old. Brightwood was built in 1898, as was Homer. So we're replacing schools that, you know, really have outlived their educational value and usefulness. So very exciting development for the city of Springfield. MSBA's been a great partner, but so grateful to the mayor, the city council, and the school committee for their support with us. It's really exciting.
I'd just like to say thank you, Superintendent Warwick, but once again, Springfield leads the way because I've been told when Boston down there, geez, you're getting more money than Boston. You know what I say to them? About time. So it's almost $750 million. And also, I want to, TJ Plant, my CAFO, and again to the City Council. These are projects, but the two projects that we're doing, Brightwood, which is an accelerated pace, and the Homer, the Berry combination, I believe we have a great relationship with the MSBA, and they asked us, would Springfield take the lead again on these innovative projects of doubling up? And we said, well, I remember Dan and I in the meeting, we said, you give us Brightwood, make sure you get that, then and you give us Homer, we'll do them both. And they have, so it's been a great relationship, so we're looking forward to getting that. And a lot of rehab work has been done in some of our older schools, as the superintendent alluded to. The envelope and physical plan of some of these schools are, again, 50, 60 years old, some dating back to the 19th century that we're going to be taking care of at that point in time. So that's good for our students, good for the staff, and good for the city. But it'll be nearly $750 million
Right.
Once we're done with this, so since we took over. Mr. Rowland, yeah?
I also credit the school department and the mayor on this, but to have 4 schools come in online and the oldest schools in the city, and I've gone to the schools and I know how bad it is. It's going to make the students learn more in a better education system. It's going to improve on them. But you can see already the change in the city, along with what's going to happen already. But the 4 new schools would be a home run for the city, and I'm happy that finally we're getting those schools, because those schools have been around, as we well know. And some of these areas have been, you know, I won't say abandoned, but it's been, the state has never looked at them like they're looking at them right now, and we know we need these schools, and these schools are important for our neighborhood. So I'm happy. I'm glad that these schools are happening all over the city, and it's going to be a home run for all of us. But I also want to thank the mayor and Danny. They're always working hard. When I proposed that we needed a new Brightwood, and I brought it to them, and I said, this is bad. You know, we need to do something. They were there, and they listened to me, and they took the cause with me to fight for this. So I'm happy. Thank you very much, guys.
We appreciate it, Mr. Rowland. You were always there, fight for every section of the city, but I remember specifically when you first came on, the tackling the Harena Tunnel, and then the Brightwood, and we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. I'm going to keep them involved, though, but we're going to miss them.
Well, we still have them on the school building.
I certainly do, and other commissions, too. Any other?
Back to the item on
Mr.
the center, your invitation. You notice that when Mark started his report, the first thing he did was thank TJ and Tim. And I've always talked about how they're the best thing that ever happened. The best thing that happened internally was the creation of the CAFO office, and not just the office, the 2 individuals that you have staffing on your side, TJ Plant and Pat Roach on our side, and the true sense of cooperation that goes on that is to the benefit of all of our students. And I'm remiss when I congratulate them that I don't congratulate those too often enough. There is a real sense of cooperation here.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, there was trying times on my city side budgets a few years back where I needed help, and the school department, school committee helped me. Now the pendulum has swung, and there's been challenging budgetary times for the school department. And in turn, we return the favor, and it's the camaraderie and the continuity and the professionalism is a testament to the people that we have working here in the city. So,
And that's another Springfield first, because if you talk to anybody else around the state, there isn't that sense of cooperation.
I'll tell you, we just finished our district accountability review.
Yeah.
And one thing they noted was that we have a true cooperation between our finance department and the city finance department, and all that fighting over Schedule 19 doesn't exist here because we have contractual agreements where we're paying for services and we're paying appropriately for services. That's a problem everywhere else in the Commonwealth, and the accountability review team was amazed. So, yeah, we are very, very grateful to TJ and very grateful to Pat on our side for the great job they've
as a
done.
matter of fact, I'm proud that Chris got it. I remember in my evening meeting with the DESI representatives, they asked me 3 times, how did you work out that Schedule 19? And I said, it really works out. It really works out, because they wanted that magic potion. So, any other report, Superintendent Warwick?
That concludes my report.
Any
Thank you,
questions or comments, Superintendent Warwick's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to unfinished business. Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Ms. Hurst? Is it about the van?
No, now I have lots to say, but
Okay.
I wanted to chime in when you guys.
Oh, well, you.
But
you
no,
should
no,
just
it's okay.
throw
I
something
figured
at me.
I'd come under new business. I think it's, I echo a lot of the sentiments that you guys shared earlier this evening, and I think it's important for the viewing public to hear, because it's one thing when we all say it, but it's another thing when people from the outside say it. And so Norman and I had the pleasure to go to the conference a couple of weeks ago, and I actually just wrote down my 4 bullets. So, so it's us, and we're the 2nd largest district in the Commonwealth, and everyone's like, oh, you're from Springfield. And so breakfast in the classroom got rave reviews, and everyone wanted to know, how we do it. People are talking, there's so much buzz about We Learn and Paul Foster and the superintendent, especially through the urban superintendent program. And the parent-teacher home visit that Lydia and I presented at, and Norman was there, also got a lot of great reviews. And then there was a school committee woman who works for MASBO who I think talked to me the whole night at dinner about Pat Roach. And so just about how great he was, how smart he was. So I just wanted to make sure that I added that, because Chris is right, and so is the mayor and the superintendent. There's a lot of great things happening here in Springfield, and sometimes we don't necessarily hear about all the good things that are happening. And so that was happening, statewide. School committee members from all over, and superintendents, were talking about Springfield.
I want to thank Ms. Hurst, because many times she has represented us very aptly and very proudly across the state as our representative. And sometimes she'll have a running mate with Norm going too. And it's, you're right, it's one thing to hear it from ourselves and people, well, you're playing to the crowd. But to hear it from the outside, we do some things, many things right here in the city of Springfield, and things that we need to work on. We'll continue to conquer those challenges. But to Denise, she's been faithfully our representative for a number of years and well respected in the state. And Norm has been her sidekick of late too. So we appreciate you taking the time to attend those state conferences. I know.
She takes charge of one of the committees there, and she is, oh my God, she does the circle thing, right? So to everybody,
I was social worker, so I make everybody get in a circle.
yeah. So when they walk into our committee, they know it's a circle, so.
Any other new business? Any other circles? No? Okay. All right, hearing none, there's a motion on the floor to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hurst. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rolland. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Good evening, and thank you for watching.